Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to the Daily Fix. Today is November 11th. Happy Veterans Day to all of my veterans. Listen, y'all, I don't know what was going on with the technology. I still don't know what's going on with it because I can't connect to Instagram. I can't connect to TikTok. I don't know if it's my computer or the software that we use, but none of the connections were working. Even I don't know because it even wouldn't even let me type this morning. So the new post says "ew." That's on accident. I was trying to type, but it wouldn't let me type anything out. So we'll have to figure it out. So I apologize for the delay. All right, but as always, the party's gonna keep going. Okay, we can't be stopped. Ain't that a song? Okay, don't let me get sidetracked. Welcome to the Daily Fix, you guys. You guys know we were out yesterday because I was out traveling. So we decided to. Normally, we don't have sessions on federal holidays, but I decided to move our Monday session to today because I was traveling yesterday. But I am back, all right? So I'm excited to hop in. I hope you guys had an amazing weekend. I came back to Houston and it is cold outside, and I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that. Okay, I was enjoying warm weather, sunny skies outside, and now I got to put on jackets and stuff. I'm not enthused. Okay, so you guys know, for the sake of time, our announcements, the biggest announcement is the gala, you guys. We are down. Last week we were down to our last 40 tickets. If you haven't got your ticket, get your ticket because we want our TDF members in the building. All right. Now, I know today is our public session day. So if you shared the session with a family member or a friend and that friend is live, hello, how you doing? They don't, you just know that if someone shared the Daily Fix with you, they love you very much. Okay. Because we are an interesting community, all right, but we are very particular about who we allow into our space. So if you got an invitation to check out the Daily Fix this morning, people love you, okay? You are loved, and we are happy that you're here. If this is your first time joining live or catching a live session, in the chat, tell us who you are and where you're from. We are happy to have you today. Now, outside of the gala that we have coming up, MLK weekend, then you guys know the ambassadors are doing their thing right now. We have some updates to the meetups, and so those be posted later on this week. So make sure that you are attending the meetups because this is where you build your community, right? If you want community, you got to be community. So show up for the people in your community. All right, so let's hop on in because we are tardy for the party. We are tardy for the party. They said it's snow in Chicago. See, no, no, absolutely not. New York, Chicago, y'all can keep it. Texas is a warm. Don't get me started. Okay, all right. So today's topic, you guys, y'all know for the month of November, we are talking about alignment, right? We're talking about getting ourselves back into alignment before the end of the year and really just checking to see how far off course are we. I think sometimes you can be off course and not realize it, right? Sometimes the same way we're driving and you think you're going in the right direction and then your GPS is like, hey, you need to bust a U-turn, right? You missed you I'm notorious for missing exits. Okay, you missed your exit and now you got to turn around. That's the same way we live our lives, is that periodically we have to check and see, have I missed something somewhere? Have I let something go on too long? Have I been ignoring something? Have I been putting something off to the side to where I just stopped paying attention to it, right? That's where we start talking about alignment. So last week we started talking about financial alignment. That was a really good conversation. This week, I want to start us off talking about aligning our mental health. All right. So if you're ready, put ready in the chat, ready in the chat, ready in the chat. Someone asked me this weekend if I would bring Heart Talks to Cleveland, Ohio. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know how many Brittany Noel fans we got in Ohio. But we definitely got to make our way that way for sure. But welcome, Miss Quita. Okay. Now, I don't even have my notes on my laptop. That's how crazy things were this morning. I don't know what was going on. I still don't know what's. See, it's something. It's because it's not even just on my laptop. It's on my phone too, where I'm getting all these error messages. Okay, Desi's on TikTok. I didn't even realize we were live on TikTok. Hello, TikTok. Welcome. Because I can't see anything. I'm telling you, I've been trying to pull up my screens and it's giving me errors. It's telling me it's not connecting. I was live earlier and there was nobody in the chat, and that's how I knew. I was like, oh, something's wrong. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about aligning our mental health. And to all of our ambassadors, okay, I'm happy that y'all are here because y'all know I would be lost without y'all. Lost, lost, lost. Okay. But this is also why I said we need a tech person. We need somebody who does the tech, like, so I can just show up and be pretty and cute. Someone said YouTube has been messing up this morning. That's probably what it is because the software and YouTube were not communicating with each other. Okay, let's hop into it. So today's topic is what to do when you feel like therapy isn't fixing it. All right. So that's the conversation that we want to have today. Here's the thing, right? And even in the daily fix, right? That's our name. Our name is the daily fix. And I'm sorry, TikTok, I didn't realize y'all were live with us. The Daily Fix is our live meetup community. They meet with me every morning because we are talking about addressing different parts of our lives. And our theme is, the fix be fixing, like that's our saying, right? And so, what do you do when you feel like therapy's not fixing it? Talking to a friend ain't fixing it. I'm doing all the things. I'm going to yoga. I'm doing the stuff. And I don't feel like it's fixing it. I don't feel like it's getting better. If you want to join the Daily Fix, hit that. Listen, the technology threw me off this morning. So if you want to join, go to the dailyfix.co and scan the QR code, and we will love to invite you into our community. All right. So here's the thing, therapy, many people feel like when they come into therapy, that therapy is this, you know, one size fits all thing that if I go to therapy, therapy will fix it. Like therapy is the cure, right? So when people say go to therapy, many people have the misconception that going to therapy is the cure for whatever is hurting me. Um, but that's not true. Therapy is not a cure, it is a tool. So even the things that we do here in the Daily Fix, I think of them as tools to help me build and create the life that I want to do. Therapy can, depending on what type of therapy you're doing, it can serve many different purposes. And depending on the type of therapist you have, it can serve many different purposes, right? But this morning, I want to talk about what to do when you feel like it's just not, I'm doing the things and it's not working. First and foremost, I want to level with those people, right? Because I myself have been in a place where I'm sitting across from my therapist and I'm like, hey man, hey, I'm doing all the deep breathing. I'm journaling. I'm doing all the things. And I feel like I don't feel better. I'm not seeing a better perspective. I still feel how I feel about it. It's not, it's not changing, right? If you've ever been in that place where you feel like I'm doing all the things and it's not changing, in the chat, just put up a hand. Just say it's me. I've been there before, right? The sound is going in and out. Let me know if that sound is going in or out. Well, it'd have to be on YouTube. It would have to be on YouTube. Is it better now? See, it's something going on. Thank you, Miss Quita. Okay, they say YouTube is fine. I don't know. Okay, there's something going on with YouTube. Okay, So I'm just going to keep going because the replay may be fine. The replay may be fine. So I'm going to keep going, and that way the replay may do what we need the replay to do. All right. Okay. So I want to level with the people and let them know that first and foremost, if you ever reach that place where you feel like I'm doing the things and it's not working, that is a normal place to get to. It is a normal place to arrive to. It's the same reason why, if you've ever been on a weight loss journey, right, and you're eating right and you're working out, but your weight kind of plateaus and you're frustrated with that, it's the same concept. Is that personal growth and personal development works the same way. It's not a steady line. It's not a steady way forward. Sometimes you do get to a place where you feel stagnated or you feel like I'm not growing or things aren't changing. And it'll take time. And sometimes this is why we call them breakthrough moments, because sometimes it's a matter of whatever the aha moment is or whatever the breakthrough moment is that has to happen. Um, Sometimes that has to take place for you to go on and get out of that plateau, right? So here's the thing. Therapy alone doesn't always lead to transformation. And this is one of the things that I really, really harp on in the daily fix is that going and talking to your therapist, even if you just sit and talk to me all day, right? If you join the daily fix, which TikTok, when you join the daily fix, you get access to over 200 videos, right? So you have almost, you could watch a video of Brittany Noel every day if you want to at this point, where I'm talking about different concepts. I'm talking about relationships, communication, self-identity, self-worth, purpose, all of that, right? But listening to that alone doesn't change anything, right? It'll give you insight, it'll give you wisdom, it'll give you tools. But if I'm not taking the tools and using them, I will see no change in my life, right? What I want us to do is first and foremost ask ourselves what has been missing. Well, today I want to help us identify what's been missing from our journey, because I have to figure out what do I need to pair therapy with? What do I need to pair the daily fix with so that I can see more effective results in my life, right? So let's hop in because I'm so distracted. I'm trying to make sure people can hear me. I don't know if y'all can hear me or see me, okay? At this point, I don't know where I'm live at. But we're gonna make it happen. Okay. So here's the thing. When therapy is done correctly, it's not here to fix you, it's here to reveal to you who you are. This is the hard part about therapy. A good therapist is your mirror, right? They're always holding up a mirror to who you are. This is why when you say something and I say it back to you or I reflect it back to you, I'm simply just showing you what's in the mirror. Right now, you may not like the way I said it. You may not like the way I said it, right? Like, dang, you didn't have to say it like that. Well, that's what's in the mirror, right? So, a good therapist is always going to reflect back to you your current state of being, right? Whatever that current state is, the good or the bad, right? I want you guys to also understand therapy is not a one size fits all solutions. And sometimes, for depending on what the issues are, talk therapy isn't enough alone. That there are other things that I need to pair with therapy in order for it to be um, as effective as I need it to be. And when you feel stuck in your process, understand that feeling stuck does not mean that you are failing in therapy. It doesn't mean that therapy is not working, right? It often means that many times you've hit a layer of self-discovery that requires a new approach, right? And so this is why sometimes you have to change the pace of therapy, right? Sometimes therapy can start off very slow and I need a faster pace. In fact, as you grow, as you are healing, the issues start to look different, right? And so, as the issues look different, my approach to them looks different, and that means the pace can start to speed up a little bit because I'm more focused on getting results than I am on the discovery side. All right. Now, here's the thing. Um, I'm gonna go straight into what I want you to pair therapy with. That's where I'm headed. Okay, they said they closed out and came back and the issue was good. Okay, very good. All right. So here's some of the things that you can pair your therapy with. All right. First and foremost, the Daily Fix Tribe, you guys have heard me talk extensively about your nervous system, right? Your nervous system regulation is, first of all, acknowledging the mind body connection. If my mind is dysregulated, my body is too. So if you feel depressed, I promise you it's showing up in your body physically, right? You probably are either eating more or less, so that means your energy is either up or down. Your muscles probably are reacting to that, whether you have muscle aches or muscle spasms. Um, you're sleeping more or less, right? Right? So anything that's happening here in my brain is also happening in my body. And so this means that if I'm doing talk therapy, if I'm going to the Daily Fix every day, I have to also be intentional about regulating my nervous system. And this is where I call it my body care, right? Because I can go talk to my therapist all day and we can have some great conversations. But even having those conversations sometimes can put my body in a state of elevation, right? If you have to have a tough session with your therapist and you leave emotional, you aren't just mentally and emotionally disrupted, physically, your body has been disrupted. And so, this is where we want to become more intentional about incorporating things that help regulate my body. I told you guys years ago when I went through a steady state of arousal for about 2 years, I had to sit down and for about 3 months, all I did was focus on regulating my body. All of my extracurricular activities were all about emotional regulation. So I was doing a lot of yoga. I was doing a lot of hiking. I was in nature a lot. Right? I was doing a lot of deep breathing exercises. I was slowing myself down. I'm doing all of these things because I'm trying to regulate my body so that my body can reset from the activation that it was in. When your body has been, when you've been hyper aroused, and remember, you're hyper aroused when you have been going through traumatic situations, or sometimes just stressful situations or stressful life transitions. So if you left a job, if you moved to a new city, if you just had a baby, right? It, life, even the good thing parts about life sometimes can add stress. My body becomes hyper aroused. That means I need to be intentional, right? So this is where, number one, if I'm doing talk therapy, if I'm doing the Daily Fix, have I also incorporated activities that will help regulate my body physically, right? This is where a lot of somatic therapy is going to come in. Somatic therapy are the ways in which I learn to calm my body. Think of somatic therapy like what talk therapy does for the brain. Somatic therapy does for the body, right? So this is where somatic therapists, they don't do as much talk therapy. They do a lot of um, behavioral activations, right? Where they want you to get active, they want you to move your body, they want you to do things with your body to help release emotions, help release pent up aggression, pent up anger. So this is where you'll see, I mean, I've seen people do it. I didn't see a therapist in sight, but people will go out to the woods. There was a video I saw, and there was a group of women went out to the woods and they started yelling, right? Now, yelling by itself does not fix the problem. I was like, I hope they got a therapist because yelling by itself doesn't fix the problem. But yelling is a form of somatic release, right? So while I may not be able to fix the problem, through yelling, this little cat comes and visits me at my window. I'm not gonna feed it though, but it's so cute. So the yelling doesn't fix the problem, but it can lower all of your stress hormones, right? This is why those rooms where you go and beat up stuff is a form of somatic therapy, right? Getting my aggression out, getting my anger out by using my body is considered somatic therapy, right? This is why going to the gym is considered a somatic release because what I can't communicate verbally, I can physically work that out and through whatever way feels best to me. So somatic therapy is where we're focusing on regulating my body. If you know that you are coming out of a state of survival, you've gone through a lot of stress, or if you just have a stressful job, if you know that you live in a stressful environment, you have to partner your talk therapy with some form of emotional regulation. How am I taking care of my body every day? Okay. So the next thing I want you to pair therapy with, okay? Um, First and foremost, we have to acknowledge that most of us have experienced some type of trauma. If you have been, I was going to say living long enough, okay? Living long enough. But a while back, I talked about the different types of traumas. I talked about a small T and a big T trauma. A big T trauma are the big parts, the big situations that change our lives, right? A big T trauma is surviving a natural, a hurricane, right? Surviving a flood is a big T trauma. Being molested is a big T trauma. Being sexually assaulted is a big T trauma. Being robbed at gunpoint is a big T trauma. Being diagnosed with cancer is a big T trauma. Big T trauma basically means it's a big event that if most people heard this happen to you, they would, clutch their purse and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," right? That's a big T trauma. And those are the type of traumas that most times we acknowledge and we give them space. What we don't always acknowledge is the little T traumas. The little T traumas are the things that happen to us that were traumatic in their own right. They changed the way we look at the world, they changed the way we see ourselves, but they weren't as I guess graphic, and they don't affect as many people, right? Big T traumas most times affect many people, where little T's don't always affect as many people. Sometimes it's just you that was affected. So a little T trauma can be a breakup, right? A little T trauma can be um, being betrayed or cheated on. A little T trauma could be a financial crisis. A little T trauma could be, losing a friend. A little T trauma could be something that you really worked for and worked towards not working out, right? So you have big T and little T traumas. Here's the thing. Whether it's a big T or a little T, trauma is trauma is trauma. What makes something traumatic, right? By definition, what makes it traumatic is that it has changed your world view. That's what makes something traumatic. So this is why it's hard for one person to say, "Oh, this is well." I experienced that, but it wasn't traumatic to me. It probably wasn't, depending on who you are and what you went through, right? But for somebody else, that could definitely be traumatic and vice versa. So we don't want to get caught up on, trying to define what is a trauma. If it changed how I view myself and view the world, that's trauma. And I'm going to acknowledge that, right? Here's the thing. Knowing that I have been affected by trauma, do you treat your life that way? Do you treat your life that way, knowing that you have been affected by trauma? I think that one of the things that people who have been affected by trauma try to do is they think that being healed means that I'm living my life just like everybody else. And that's not true, right? When we talk about emotional elevation, when you have been affected by trauma, your emotional baseline, meaning where you are when nothing is happening, is down here. Well, no, up here. The regular person with no trauma is here. But when you wake up in the morning, you don't wake up here, you wake up elevated solely because of your trauma history. And this is why you don't have the luxury of acting like I can live my life like someone who has never been affected by trauma. You have to live your life knowing that because I have a certain history, I have to live my life a certain way because I'm automatically more elevated than the normal person. I got to plan for that, right? And this is the part where it's not about how much therapy you complete, right? If you haven't designed a life that, one, first and foremost, prioritizes safety and boundaries, If you haven't designed a life that prioritizes rest and routine, and created an environment where you can feel safe, you will always be walking into these blind spots. You'll always be. It's like walking in a minefield where I'm just walking on. I'm waiting to just bump into something that's going to trigger me, right? So this is what we call trauma, a trauma-informed lifestyle. When I am aware of what my trauma is and I know how it triggers me and I know what gets in my way, I have to know what boundaries do I need to set with myself and other people so that I'm not pushing past my limits, so that I'm not being exposed to things I don't need, I don't have to be exposed to, right? And this is one of the hardest things for a lot of people because it means that it's not just about talking about what happened to me. At some point, I have to design my life around what happened to me, right? This is where accountability this is where a hard conversation with your therapist, if anything, this is where things get difficult in that therapy room because at some point you have to hold yourself accountable for not just knowing what needs to be done, but actually doing what needs to be done. And this is where the real work of therapy happens, right? You go set the boundary and then you come back and you talk about how setting that boundary went. Did it go well? did you set it effectively? Did you say it clearly or were you, that's where that's the work, right? But constantly talking about the trauma is not actually what heals you. It's not actually what moves you past it, right? Finding a new perspective of yourself and the world is what happens in the therapy room. But when you leave the therapy room, that's where the work happens. All right. So you have to have a trauma informed lifestyle. Um, and understand, right? If you because I think that this also goes into when you live a lifestyle that is against societal norms, right? So if I know that I'm a part of the LGBTQ community, if I know that I am, a part of a religious background that I'm no longer conforming to, if I know that I am breaking the norms in any kind of way, this is all the more reason why I have to be clear about trauma informed lifestyle because I can't live how they live, if that makes sense. I can't do it the way that they do it. And I think sometimes will put a lot of pressure on ourselves to conform when if I'm breaking norms, I'm not supposed to conform, right? Which means I got to create my own wave. And that can be scary for a lot of people. That could be disruptive for a lot of people, right? Okay. All right. Looks like I'm still live. Listen, I don't know what's going on with today. All right. Um, the next thing I want you guys to do, if you feel like therapy isn't working, and it's funny because this one wasn't always my favorite, but it's community and co-regulation, right? This is why we built the Daily Fix the way we did, because I wanted people to know that there is a part of the healing process that involves community. We are a family like a giant tree reaching out towards the sky. Did I watch Dreamgirls? Yes, I did. Do I watch Dreamgirls often? Yes, I do. But the idea, right, is community, right? I think one of the biggest rewards of the healing process is to realize that I can create and be a part of safe spaces. And safe spaces doesn't mean that everything in the community goes right or it goes exactly how I want it to be. But a safe space in the community means that I'm around a group of people where I am not judged for my truth. I can be seen as is without having to edit myself. I don't have to change to make people happy, that my truth is enough here, and I don't have to conform or meet anyone's expectation to be accepted here. Right? That's what a safe space looks like. And unfortunately, um, not a lot of people have good examples of what safe spaces look like. But healing at some point will require that you allow yourself to be seen, right? Um, and be seen outside of the therapy room, right? Your therapist is your guide on your journey, right? But at some point, we should have some real companions who can walk with us and witness. I always say the companions are there to witness. Your community doesn't fix you, your community doesn't have the answer to your problems. And sometimes your community isn't who you're supposed to be venting to, but they can witness the ups and the downs of your journey and support you in whatever way that looks like, right? Isolation feels most time feels good to us because we don't have to allow other people to see where we're hurting while we're hurting, right? So sometimes isolation, it just feels easier. It feels better than the vulnerability of allowing other people to see us. So community and leaning in community can be hard. I will also say that community and finding the right community can be difficult, and this is where therapy comes in. This is the part about therapy, because in your process, as you're growing, changing, and evolving, who you consider community is going to change. Who you consider community is going to change. And sometimes it has to change because who you were before you had self worth, who you were before you understood your value, who you were before you had goals, ambitions, and dreams, and purpose and drive, who you were before that person didn't always attract the type of community that can hold the weight of everything that you are. And so the therapy of it is to start asking you those hard questions. Do these relationships still align with who you are and what you want? Right? That's a part of what can happen in the therapy room. And then when I leave the therapy room, it's on me to one, gravitate towards the communities that are showing the signs of the type of community I want to have, right? Versus hanging out with people who don't have those traits, right? Or wanting to be a part of those people who don't have those traits. Remember, your attachment style in your romantic relationships will mirror your attachment style with your friendships. So if you have a history of picking partners who aren't supportive, who aren't, um, healthy or loving or kind, it's very possible that you may pick the same type of friends who have those same behaviors because that's what I'm used to, right? And so in the therapy room, you're challenged. Those norms are challenged. Your perception is challenged. What you consider love is challenged. What you consider friendship is challenged. In the therapy room, we remake all of those definitions. And then when you leave the therapy room, you got to go find the community. And that's where things get hard, especially in today's day and age where finding adult friendships can be difficult. And so this is why I always push you guys into doing what you love doing, because whatever it is you love doing, you're going to find your community there. If you love pottery, you're going to find your community there. If you love working out, you're going to find your community there. Go into the spaces and the places that you already love, and then you're going to find your people there, right? But don't go back. Don't go back to the old people. Okay. Okay. And then paired with your therapy, you're going to see identity shift. Therapy is going to always help you understand the why, right? Therapy will always help you understand the why, but who you're becoming is going to require that you shift your identity. Who do I need to become to live out this healed version of myself that I see in my head, right? Who do I want to become? Who do I want to become? And this is where sometimes it feels like I got stuck in therapy, if you want to be totally honest, because your therapist doesn't have this answer, right? People ask me all the time when I posted that video about who are you, right? And everybody's in the comments, who am I? Tell me who I am. I cracked up. There were quite a few people who were like, can she just tell me who I am? And I'm like, I don't know who you are. right? I don't know who you are. Your therapist doesn't know who you are. You are the only person who has that answer. Your therapist can help you dig it out, right? Your therapist can help you get to the bottom of it. They can ask you the questions that help you reveal, but only you know that answer. And so sometimes it feels like I got stuck because I couldn't find the answer, or I don't know where the answer is, or I haven't figured the answer out yet, right? But at some point in your process, we really, and this is where you'll see the shift from where we stop talking about the past, right? We stop talking so much about who hurt me, when it happened, how it happened. We become less focused on the pain, and now we're more focused on our future when you start to ask this question. Because the only people who have the luxury, okay, the only people who truly have the luxury to even consider identity or think about identity are people who are no longer living in survival. That's just the truth. As long as you're living in survival, it's very hard to create a vision for the future. It's very hard to see yourself as anything other than surviving. It's very hard to see yourself in a place where your dreams are coming true, things are working, you're happy, you're healthy. So it's hard to see that vision. But once you get into a place where you're safe and things are predictable, my brain now has space to anticipate my future. And this is where who am I starts to formulate. So, accompanied with your therapy, you're going to always have to make space and make room for my identity to constantly change, constantly evolve. And evolving is nothing more than a continuation of who I am. It's not something different. I'm not becoming somebody different. I'm simply continuing to evolve. I'm growing into more of myself. I think of evolution like Pokemons. When Pokemons, like, I don't know what it's called, they level up, they evolve, but they'll go from one version of themselves and then they go into this next, more powerful version of themselves, and they look similar, right? So if you look at, Pikachu when he first came out to Pikachu when he evolved, they look similar, like they look like they could be cousins. Because they have some of the same traits and some of the same characteristics, but they're clearly two different things, right? And so when you're growing and evolving, you're not becoming something totally new. You are expanding the definition of who you are. I'm expanding into more of myself. I am becoming more of myself. I'm not changing. I'm not, erasing who I used to be, but I am expanding the definition of who I am. And so I may look similar in some ways, but I'm very different, especially in the ways that matter. All right. Okay. Let's talk some practical coping skills, right? Especially this time of the year where we are being, exposed to a lot of social media pressures. People are going to start posting their end of the year recaps. you know, Look at everything I did all year, right? And it's so easy to compare our 2025 to somebody else's 2025. It's so easy to compare our lives to somebody else's life, and to feel inferior, right? Because I'm comparing myself to what somebody had or achieved, right? So how do I cope with that? How do I cope with feeling like I didn't make as much progress as I wanted to this year, right? And also holding space for I still was success, like it was still a successful year for me. I still made progress. I still moved the needle forward, right? And I'll say one of the things I want us to do is to stop questioning how long the journey takes. Right. Now, mind you, I am someone who hates road trips. I keep saying it's on my bucket list. I want to drive cross country one year. Well, let me be clear. Let me be more. I would like to passenger princess across country one year. I'm not driving nowhere, okay? I would like to be a passenger princess, and it needs to be in a comfy RV that has a bed and a TV and snacks, okay? That's probably the only way I'm gonna make it cross country. Because if I have to drive to Dallas, I Dallas is what, 4 hours from Houston? I am how much longer do we got? How much further are we? I am the person who wants to know why are we still in the car? And that's only 3 hours, y'all. So I don't get how y'all be driving these long distances. It drives me crazy. Right. So I get it. I'm the person who is like, "Hey, how much longer do we gotta do this?" Right? I understand how it feels to be in that journey and you're like, "I really wish we could speed this up." Like, how much longer am I gonna be in pain? How much longer am I gonna be confused? How much longer do I have to sit with this emotion? I'm sick of sitting with the emotion, right? It's natural to be in that place where you get anxious and you get, hey, I'm ready to move on to the next thing, right? Um, Unfortunately, healing doesn't work that way. Healing doesn't work on your clock. And most times you don't even realize that you've healed from something until something happens and you respond in a different way. And you're like, oh, I didn't even realize I had arrived here yet. Because had that been a year ago, oh, I would have snapped. Or a year ago, I would have shut down. A year ago, that would have been different. Sometimes you arrive to this place of wholeness and you don't even realize you got there, right? But to do that, it's a matter of focusing and being mindful and present on today, right? Focus and ground yourself in today. One of the first ways you do that, I know y'all are sick of me saying journaling. The reason why journaling is important is because it keeps your mind wrapped in today, right? It keeps an open dialogue with yourself. It keeps an open dialogue with your heart. It keeps an open dialogue with the different parts of you that are all in this journey, right? So when I'm journaling, I'm talking to the little girl in me. When I'm journaling, I'm talking to the free spirited one in me. When I'm journaling, I'm talking to the divine one in me. I'm talking to all of these different parts because sometimes, depending on where you are in the journey, all of those different pieces of you are not on the same page. Sometimes the little girl want to handle it one way, the divine feminine wants to handle it another, and the divine is saying, "Hey, hold your horses," right? So sometimes all these different parts of me all have a voice, and where do I capture that voice? That's where the journaling comes in. Journaling is not to solve a problem. I think that's one of a lot of people's issues with journaling is they want to be able to journal and the I know what to do. The problem is fixed. That's not the purpose of journaling. Journaling is not a tool for fixing, right? Journaling is a tool for witnessing my own process. Journaling is a tool for seeing the different parts of me on paper. Because sometimes when it's just flowing through my head, I don't even know which voice is talking. I'm just funneling through thoughts left and right. But I'm not actually sitting with any of them, right? Especially when you're in seasons that feel tough. This is when you want to journal the most because you are documenting your process. You are documenting your process. And it is nothing more liberating than to go back and read some of your old journals and you're like, I am so much further than what I used to be. I have grown so much further than what I used to be. All right. So now, first and foremost, I want us to get back into the habit of journaling. Even if you just journal between now and the end of the year, I want you to pick one day out of the week. That is your day to sit down with your journal and speak with the different parts of you. Even if you just say, today I'm gonna sit down and journal to the little girl in me. I'm gonna journal to the divine feminine in me. I'm gonna journal to the little boy in me. Pick one day out of the week. And it don't have to be a whole long process. You can say for 30 minutes, I'm a journal, right? But it's being intentional with setting aside time to meet with you. It's like a business meeting with all of the different parts of you. Okay. I want us to do Gentle self audits. Gentle self audits, right? When I told you, the trainer at the gym, he always laughs because when he asks me how I'm doing, I take a deep breath and I'll do a body scan. When you do a body scan, it's literally like scanning from head to toe. And I'm checking in with my body, like, how does my body feel? Do I feel a lot of stress in my shoulders? Do I feel the air in my lungs when I take that deep breath? Do I feel, because physically I'm feeling how I feel, but I'm also checking for emotionally how I feel, right? Is my heart heavy today? Do I have a lot of anxiety today? Am I sad today? Am I excited today? Am I grateful today? Am I content today? Right. And so I take a deep breath and I do a body scan. I'm checking for physically what I can sense. And I'm also checking my heart. How does my heart feel today? Right. And this is where many times, many people will hear me say, I am content, right? I'm content. There's a thousand things I could complain about, but none of them are actually life-threatening. I'm content. There's plenty of things that I wish were different, but none of them are actually, you know, anything I control. So I'm content, right? And it's really removing yourself from the expectations, the outcomes, and how you think life is supposed to go. That when I do my body scan and I realize that things could be not how I want them to be with whatever's going on in my life, but I can still be good, right? So this is where we want to do our gentle self audits, where we are auditing our hearts, auditing our minds. We're auditing our body. How does my body feel? Have I been carrying a lot of weight, right? Have I been moving very quickly? I'm cleaning up fast, moving this way fast, moving the kids fast. Everywhere I go, I'm rushing, rushing, rushing. Have you slowed down? Take some deep breaths, walk slower, eat slower, right? This is when I would tell myself, I was like, whenever I would go out and get like fast food or something. And I was like, Brittany, you don't actually have to eat fast food. You can actually go to a restaurant and you can go inside and you can sit down. You don't have nowhere to go. You can go in, sit down, and have a whole dinner. You don't have to go to fast food. You actually can go to a restaurant and enjoy your food and enjoy your money that you're spending for this food, right? It's the shift between trying to get nowhere fast, right? But it's really checking in and realizing I've been on go, I've been moving quickly, I've been living it, in stress and strain, and I have to invite ease. That's the point of the audit, right? The audit is going to tell you where you've been kind of checked out, where you've kind of veered off path, where you've been busy for other people, but not for self. That's the point of the gentle audit. The audit is not to shame yourself. The audit is not to, make something good or bad. The audit is simply pointing to places where things could be different, right? Where you could be moving differently. Okay. And the last one I'm going to give you is the therapeutic pairing. I want you to pair. You can make this pair however you want to, but I want you to pair your therapeutic journey, right? So whether your therapeutic journey is the daily fix, meaning the talk piece of it, the intellectual piece is the daily fix, or if you are in therapy, or if you're in group therapy, whatever it is, right? I want you to pair the cognitive process with another therapeutic process, right? So some of the ones that you can pair with are physical, artistic expression, or spiritual practices, right? So if I'm pairing my therapy journey with physical movement, then that's me saying that I'm focusing on that self-regulation, right? So in conjunction with therapy, I'm also going to do a aqua class at the gym, right? Aqua, what's it? aqua aerobics. Don't know. Aqua aerobics, right? Or I'm gonna do a yoga, entry level yoga class, or I'm gonna do Pilates, or I'm gonna do boot camp, right? Or I'm gonna hike more, right? So I'm pairing the intellectual process because therapy most times is an intellectual process with a physical movement, right? Or you can pair it with artistic expression. So, along with my therapeutic, my intellectual process, I'm going to pair it with coloring. I just saw this really cute thing, and I put it in my cart. The only reason why I didn't check out because I was like, I think you're going to get addicted to that. But it's like dots. It's a coloring book, but it's dots, and the dots tell you which whatever. So you put dots on the thing, but it's a good way to be mindful. It's a good way to kind of disconnect. It's really something that you can do when you're trying to disconnect from the world and you just need a mindless activity to just breathe. That would be a good activity, right? But anything with artistic expression or creative expression, this is where you're getting into like just hobbies, right? You're doing things because it feels good to do. So whether that's drawing, whether that's crafting, whether that's yarn, whether that's pottery, if that's painting, if it's, building something. I was in a do it yourself phase for a long time. Let me tell you something. The people at Home Depot knew me, okay? Because I think it was one day I was just like, I want to build a vanity because there was a particular vanity that I wanted and I couldn't find it anywhere. And my process, I said, you know what? I think I can build it. I found the plans online and I built this vanity, like with wood and nails and stuff. And it held up well for a long time. And then I got a different vanity. But the point is, right? What can I throw myself into that goes into my artistic expression and it feels good to me? And I'm not doing it for any other reason other than it feels good. I think someone on our Friday call talked about making videos online, right? That's an example of artistic expression. I don't have to do it for applause. I'm just doing it because it feels good. And then your spiritual practices, right? So this is where I compare my intellectual process of therapy with praying, meditation, daily devotions, volunteering. Volunteering, throwing myself into a worthy cause, right? Because I think sometimes people forget that tapping into our spiritual gifts is not always things that we do in isolation. Sometimes I can tap into my spiritual gifts by showing up in my community, exercising my gift, helping, right? Being of service. Those are things that help me tap into my spiritual uh, practices as well, right? So those will stretch you. So that's one the three things I want us to focus on: journaling, self audits, and therapeutic pairings. Pairing my intellectual process with another therapeutic process. Right now, I want to say the call of action I want to give you guys for today. I just simply want you to journal. Okay, if you ain't journaled in a while, I want you to just blow the dust off of it. Just pick it up and just blow it off, right? And just check in with you. How do you feel now that the year is coming to an end? How do you feel about that? Are you excited? Are you optimistic? Are there still some things that you want to get done before the end of the year? Are there some conversations you want to have? Right? Um, what do I want to do? I mean, it's opening up the dialogue. I just want you to have a dialogue with you, right? That's the goal. It's journaling is never this is there's never a goal of what I'm trying to get done. I just want to have an open dialogue with myself that is unaudited. It's not filtered, right? It's just raw, honest truth. It's like I think of journaling as like talking to an old friend, right? Like, hey, I ain't been here in a minute. How you doing? Let me tell you what happened, right? But catching up with an old friend and checking in with you. That is the call to action I have for you guys. TikTok, if you have been with me, I can't see TikTok. Um, I'm sure that I have some amazing people on TikTok. I want to invite you guys to come and join us in the Daily Fix. We're here every morning. You can join by going to the dailyfix.co and you can sign up and you will have access to me every morning. And on Fridays, we have our live question and answer. So if you're ever in a place where you're like, man, I wish I could ask Brittany a question. I wish I could ask her, how to deal with this or what she thinks or whatever. Join the Daily Fix because the Daily Fix, the fixers, they have access to me every Friday, and we get to have some tough conversations, right? And I like the Friday calls because it allows me to really see the issue for you guys, and we get to come up with some interesting solutions. Okay, so we will be back tomorrow to continue with this conversation of aligning our mental health. The conversation I want to have tomorrow will be a little different than what's on the calendar, but I want us to continue to talk about alignment, right? So that really so that y'all are ready for the conversation I want to have in December, because December is going to be it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But y'all know the new year is my favorite time of the year. So we got to prepare. We got to prepare for it. So I want y'all to have an amazing, an amazing Tuesday. Have a terrific Tuesday. Have a tantalizing, yeah, Tuesday. And I will see you guys